Hello everyone, my name is Wong, and today we are going to be talking about what you should expect from a second year anime convention and how to make it super successful, kinda. So what I'm talking about is Anime Expo Chibi, this one. This is a younger brother of Anime Expo, the biggest anime convention in America. It is way younger. This is only their second year, and Anime Expo themselves has been going on for over 31 years. And in the latest convention they have in July in Los Angeles right here, they had over 400,000 entries coming in and out. So unlike most conventions that start from scratch, Anime Expo Chibi has a lot of resource at its disposal thanks to Anime Expo. And it's not just money, like I'm sure they have a way bigger budget than small beginner conventions, but they have something that is much more valuable. In fact, I think would be the most valuable to any nerd convention success. But I'll get to that in a second. Let's first talk about the convention. So I went to the convention with Stella Chu, and it was hot, like middle of November, didn't expect it, it was like 80 degrees. They gave us this wristband tab system, which you need to get both in and out of the conventions. You have to get this wristband through batch pickup. Speaking of which, one thing that this convention still suffers from is batch pickup, which I don't really get, like how so many conventions are still having this issue. It's not just Chibi, many conventions have that problem. But I'm not a convention runner, so maybe there's something that I don't know. But I have been also to some convention where they were able to successfully making batch pickup very smooth and very fluid. So that's something that they definitely need to improve on. As soon as you walk in, you would see this giant blow-up mascots around. You would see a gift shop with a lot of items you can buy, a pretty big selection too, ranging from standard clothing items like shirts, socks, or hats, or to some kind of more premium items like a bomber jacket or skateboard deck. Inside the convention, there are a few more other things that are definitely inherited or borrowed from Anime Expo. They got cosplay sets, which is always like big backdrop that you can use to take pictures for people that are in cosplay. I mean, you don't have to be in cosplay, but it's cool because they have some like a Tokyo train. They have like a dystopian set or like a Japanese tea set. Those are really great for doing cosplay. They have tabletop gaming. There's a big selection of all kind of tabletop games, but we're playing Catan, but you can also bring your own, card games to play as well. I saw some people playing Magic, some people playing Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon. There is the e-gaming room where it's like mostly, console gaming. You can also check out a bunch of games that they have there. There's an arcade retro gaming room where, a bunch of arcade games. It's free to play, retro game, Street Fighters, like all this good stuff. There's also a manga lounge, which is a giant room with a bunch of manga. They put them all in alphabetical order, A to Z. There is a maid cafe where people can, have food there and also interact with the maid there, play some fun game. There is a cosplay karaoke. I didn't really get a chance to go because it was nighttime and I was gone to a birthday party before that. They have a J Fashion swap meet, which, people bring their J Fashions stuff so they can sell them, lots of Lolita clothing, those kind of things. So all these things usually take a while for most convention to build up. Lots of convention might have some of those room entertainment, but they don't usually have all of them, especially in their first or second year. And then of course you have the standard stuff, panel rooms, workshop, that kind of stuff. There's a cosplay repair room where people can fix their cosplay, line to do autograph from different artists, different voice actors. There's the dealer's hall, and of course the artist alley. The exhibit hall and artist alley were pretty big. According to the info paper, there were over 200 exhibitors and 300 artists, if I remember correctly. And the exhibit hall had a lot of small vendors. There were one or two big vendors, but it looks like they were able to sell out every single space. The artist alley was in an outdoor tent. It was very full. The AC was doing just okay, trying to sustain, so many people. Wasn't that easy, especially in 80-degree weather. It was okay, but it wasn't uncomfortable. And the great thing about Artist Alley in 2023 is that artists are not only selling print, they're selling bags, they're selling pins, they're selling keychain, sticker, some even sell candle, which is the amazing thing about nerd convention. Is this gray area where you can buy a lot of not licensed art and item from all your favorite familiar IPs. They also had some people doing, performance, and instead of stage, they had it in an open area, which they call the Chibi Plaza. So there were people doing dances, there were people doing music, all kind of fun stuff. There were two unusual areas that I saw that I'm not really familiar with, and they're not usually at a convention. One is the retro market, the other is the Kisigi track, I believe. I didn't know what it was until I looked it up. Kisigi is like one of their mascots. It's like a little rabbit-looking thing. The retro market was actually just another dealer's hall where people sell retro games, but I saw people were selling all kind of stuff. The Kisigi's track was apparently some bouncing inflatable obstacle course, fun for adults or kids. I didn't get a chance to play on it, but I would have. They also have a food area, which were like 10 to 15 tents with a lot of food option, mostly Japanese themed food. And Stella ate a lot of food, and I mean a lot of food. Also, there were cosplayers walking around the conventions, just like most conventions, and photographer and videographer were also walking around doing photos, video with them. Some even brought some very professional equipment with them. Overall, this convention feels like a very photographer-friendly convention, which I'm very happy about. Some conventions get annoying, when you bring a tripod or light stand. So far, I don't think anyone had any problem with it. Obviously, there was a lot to do, especially for a second-year convention. So I would say it's a pretty successful convention. But what made this convention this successful was not only because Papa Anime Expo was, able to give them all this good stuff, all this good tangible stuff like cosplay sets or big budget, but there were three things that made this convention super successful, especially for the last one. First is experience. They definitely have a lot of experience operating anime conventions. For Anime Expo, it's their 31st convention. For Chibi, it's their second year, but they were able to borrow a lot of their experience into these conventions. And I know it takes a team to making sure a convention is running smoothly. Most conventions start planning their next year convention as soon as the current ones end. Chibi feels like they were able to use all that time to plan it to making sure it runs smoothly. It might not be the best, but it was smooth. Number two, marketing. So Anime Expo Chibi was able to use Anime Expo to help them to market the event. Whether it is marketing giant billboard at Anime Expo back in July, or using Anime Expo's emailing list. They were able to reach a pretty big market. Anime Expo Chibi also didn't need to market itself a lot, mostly because it is using the Anime Expo name, so it already has a brand recognition. Even the gift shop was selling a bunch of Anime Expo item, not specific for Chibi, just Anime Expo. So that strong brand recognition already gave attendee a healthy expectation, which brings me to the last thing, contact list. Anime Expo was able to use its name and connection to reach out not only to attendees, but also sellers, artists, restaurant, and a bunch of other things. Most vendors are worried about new conventions, how many people will show up, if there are also other vendor there. I remember back for right after pandemic or during pandemic, was it right after pandemic, PAX Prime or PAX West have a convention and it was empty. Like, that is not great for the con itself, but definitely not great for even you as a vendor because it kind of looked bad. So with Anime Expo Chibi, that really wasn't a problem for them. They can project how many attendees they have in their second year by just looking at the number they got from the first year, and they're gonna promise it's gonna be bigger this year. They can reach out to any vendor they want, and in fact, I truly believe that they have more vendor want to apply than vendor that actually got in. Just like college and university, every year they're like, oh, how many people got in and how many people couldn't get in, that kind of thing. Now, on top of all that, most of their rooms are also require a good contact list to make them successful. Things like tabletop gaming, e-gaming arcade, retro gaming, manga lounge, maid cafe, you know, all this stuff. You know, even the J Fashion swap meet was kind of small, but still, none of these things are fewer things that, you know, that they would keep themselves. It's not something they keep in a storage room somewhere where the convention's not happening. They have to reach out or rent them out from, you know, people, company, brand, so that they'll bring them to the conventions. Either they have to pay for it, or, you know, those brand or company or people will just bring it in to advertise their business or whatever they're advertising. So Anime Expo Chibi was able to use Anime Expo's contact list to get all this. I think that is the biggest reason why it is so successful. Now, if you're starting a new convention, I know this is gonna sound a bit discouraging because, well, most likely you don't have a, you know, big backing, experience, high budget convention like Anime Expo, but, you know, you can still learn the best from it. You know, like all those stuff that they got from it were experience, marketing, contact list. Like all this stuff are not really that tangible and could acquire one way or the other. So there's still a chance for you to have a very successful convention if you learn from all those things. Overall, I think Anime Expo Chibi was able to utilize everything they can get to make a great convention for all types of people to enjoy, especially family with children attending their first conventions. Hopefully, other conventions can also learn a few things from this con and able to make their con, you know, as enjoyable and successful as this one is. So anyway, that's it for me today. I know this is a little bit different than my usual content, but, you know, I have been to a lot of conventions for over the last decade, and I owe a lot of my success, you know, to anime, nerd, geek conventions. So I just want to, you know, share my 2 cents, and also, you know, use my my camera, my new DJI Osmo Pocket 3 camera. So all this shot that you saw from the con was shot using this camera. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!